I see a lot of people in the comments saying, oh, it's your fault because you updated. No, it's not my fault. I have no obligation to the software. The software has an obligation for me. I paid for everything. As I reopen Final Cut Pro after force closing it for the 5th time today and attempt to hunt down the footage that's causing it to crash, meanwhile reopening the title action safe zones that for some reason disappear every time I close Final Cut Pro, I can't help but wonder, what in God's name is happening to my favorite NLE? A couple days ago I met with one of the big names in the film industry, in the camera industry, a guy who builds his own camera cars, a guy who straps cameras to SpaceX rockets and works with some of the biggest hardware manufacturers in our industry. And I told him I was a Final Cut Pro guy. He just laughed and laughed. And he said, Final Cut Pro sucks. It's a joke. I didn't really have an argument for him. I'm beyond frustrated right now with Final Cut. Outside of the fact that I have an iMac Pro that I can't upgrade the RAM on. And at home, I have a regular iMac that I have a Fusion drive in that I can't upgrade to just a straight SSD. Fusion drives are garbage. Don't ever buy a Mac with a Fusion drive, please, by the way, as an aside. Aside from all that, like, right now we're dealing with plugin issues and this incompatible footage stuff. And don't get me wrong, I still love how Final Cut works. It's not just Final Cut, it's the ecosystem that I really like. Things like notes and messages and AirDrop, little things that you don't really notice until you don't have them. Like you go, it's those little things that are really important to me, those little things that just work. The problem I'm having right now are with the big things that just don't work on Mac right now for professionals, especially if you upgraded like I did. I upgraded my iMac Pro to Catalina, the newest OS on Mac, and I upgraded Final Cut Pro to 10.4.6 or 10.4.7. The frustrating thing right now is that there is some footage that is not compatible with the 64-bit architecture of Final Cut. Motion JPEG, MJPEG footage, a lot of it, the overwhelming majority of it, is incompatible with Catalina. It's incompatible with the new Final Cut because it's not 64-bit. If you're familiar with a lot of stock websites, stock footage, a lot of that by default downloads in MJPEG. The only thing I'm asking for here in this video, this whole video, I'm asking for two things. Two really simple things. One, a plugin manager. Plugin manager where I can open it up, look through all the plugins, and Final Cut will label some of them as compatible or incompatible with itself. It'll allow me to get rid of any plugins that are not compatible or disable them temporarily until the software developer issues an update. That would be phenomenal. I know this is possible because Logic has one. The other thing I would really like is maybe have a media manager. That's pretty much what Final Cut is. I don't understand why it just can't flag media that is incompatible. So right now it's showing a lot of MJPEG stuff as still images and then crashing when you try to touch them in any way. So if Final Cut just had a simple media manager where it popped up and said, hey, by the way, these clips are not compatible with Final Cut. We're gonna disable them and we're just gonna call it media offline. They decided to get rid of this footage, and there's not like there's 400 million codecs out there. There's a limit. There's under 100 codecs that we actively work with right now. So like that small segment of codecs that are not compatible with Final Cut, flag them. Let us know what they are. Give us the option to convert to a 64-bit codec, or at the very least, let us know that this is what is causing the problem. And the biggest issue is coming from the fact that I have a Final Cut Pro library with over 40 events in it, well over 30 projects, with 3 or 4 terabytes worth of footage in it that has been gathered from various people over the last 2 years, and I have to hunt down footage tens of thousands of clips in this library. Final Cut doesn't tell me which clips are incompatible, where to find them, it doesn't tell me what to do. And my workflow, my workaround has basically been, oh, that clip does not have a preview on it. There's no preview thumbnail on the clip in Final Cut. That clip is probably incompatible. I'm gonna pull that up in Finder, I'm gonna delete it so it forces Final Cut to offline it, because you cannot touch it in Final Cut or Final Cut will hang up. You can't do anything. You can't do anything to it in Final Cut. You have to reveal it in browser first, delete the footage, and then go back into Final Cut and dump it from Final Cut after it says media offline. But that's my workaround. And here's the thing, really cool stuff is coming from Apple. It looks like they kinda are starting to give a crap about professionals again, which is really cool. Like, the iMac Pro is great, not upgradable, but really great. The Mac Pro is gonna be super upgradable, awesome. And about an hour before I recorded this video, they announced the 16-inch MacBook Pro that goes up to 8 terabytes of storage. What is it, like 64 gigs of RAM? Something crazy like that? 8 gigs of VRAM? Like, holy crap, it's amazing stuff. What if you're a professional who doesn't want to upgrade to Catalina? You can no longer buy new Apple products because they come pre-installed with Catalina. So this beautiful 16-inch MacBook Pro, it's going to be hard for a lot of people to buy it that don't want to upgrade, that don't want to update their software. It's going to be really hard, especially when Apple is not providing things that flag the incompatible plugins and media. It's going to make it very hard for people to update. I'm not saying I'm leaving Final Cut anytime soon. I don't plan on it. But I have been using Premiere and Resolve quite a bit over the last few months, and I'm not going to say that they don't have features that look really compelling. That's all. That's all I have to say. Thanks for watching.